Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the most creative Terran player out there. In the blue, the Admiral. It's GuMiho. Up against his Korean counterpart, the Protoss. In the red, the Surgeon. It's Nightmare. A best of 3 Terran versus Protoss showdown between two players known for their creativity and commentated by a caster who is not. Because once again, I'll be begging you to like and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we... What, one more than yesterday? 1,395 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. GuMiho not intimidated by the Protoss, not going for the 2 gas early. And Nightmare, what? What is this? Why? Was ist das? So the Reaper just hanging out behind the natural. Nightmare with a proxy pylon, but like... Well, I have no idea what he wanted to accomplish with that, as he clearly isn't going for any super early pressure, maybe? But he already had the Twilight Council at home. So, I don't know. A scouting pylon? Something to distract, but either way, it doesn't pan out. The Adept shaded to the other side. Reaper already got a kill. Dives into the mineral line. Jukes away from the Adept shade. And the probes are pulled off the line. Blink is on the way. There's a Cyclone back at home for GuMiho, as we already have a rough and tumble start. But neither player with enough firepower to do critical damage to the other. At least not yet. Not for lack of wanting to, nor trying. Cyclone comes out. SCV does get taken out. The Adept is shading into the base from the frying pan directly into the SCV surrounded fire. But Adept chased down. Those SCVs surviving with 1 extra hit, as Terrans are just built better than Protoss or Zerg. I'm Terran and I approve this message. But Blink is now halfway done. More gates on the way. There's a Robo. 2 shield batteries. 1 in the main, probably anticipating a drop, and smart move, as that's what's coming, but... Okay, so, I'm still scratching my head about what that pylon was supposed to be about. I feel like there's somewhere in the realm of 53.4, repeating, of course, % chance that he's just trying to mess with GuMiho with it. Like, come out here, see a pylon, and freak out, but... I've never seen anything quite like it. Nightmare known for his originality, but sometimes it ends up hurting him as much as it helps. Well, 2 Adepts sitting at the front. He saw the medevac come out. A single Widow Mine. The Adepts getting flanked by the Cyclone and Reaper from the other side, catching them off guard. The Adepts, one of them will go down. The other one shades away. So now the Widow Mine drop, and single Widow Mine. Still an existential threat, but what did you expect him to not have vision there? GuMiho takes a turn, doing the same thing as Nightmare was doing by just kind of manipulating the vision, keeping him busy. Now that it's been scouted, that medevac and the mine are just living rent-free in the back of the base, as opposed to, and Nightmare's head, as opposed to actually doing any damage. It's very unlikely a Widow Mine drop is going to do damage after being scouted against Blink Stalkers. So GuMiho just going to hold on to it, jams it into the back corner, maybe pulls it out later. And things will settle down. In fact, barely anything, no units have died. And by no units, I'm trivializing the 1 Marine, 1 SCV, 2 Adepts, and 2 probes, but effectively no real exchanges. But the mind games have gone back and forth. I think GuMiho's gotten the better of it, as he's already working up to his triple threat. The stim, the combat shield, the +1 infantry weapons. Well before Nightmare's getting his Colossi. Does he even have extended thermal lance? No. If your thermal lances aren't fully extended, are you really trying? And more quotes from your mother, but... Charge is on the way. There's the thermal lance. The medevac with the Widow Mine in it. Oh, and he jukes it. He blinks over the top. But Nightmare went the wrong way. Wait, can he even get high ground vision with this? Oh, yes, 1 Stalker. Back up to the top. But now GuMiho comes out. The shadow boxing right now is continuing. Oh, the Widow Mine actually got a Stalker. He gets the mine in turn, but the medevac got away. Combat shield and +1 done. This is the most intense non-fighting I've seen in a while. But that's gonna change too. He's chasing him down with the Cyclone. But Blink should be up just barely in time to save a single Stalker. And now, GuMiho, about half his army's kind of strung out. There's no Thermal Lance, it's just one Colossus. That does not intimidate the Gumi God right now, as the Marauders step up to the plate and look to knock down the Colossus. There's the battery overcharge. Does he just target the battery? No, he's going for the Colossus. The Marines are being incinerated right now. Charge is almost done, though. There are no Zealots. And the battery overcharge helping out a lot, but there's really not that many units left over here. A second Colossus stepping up, and that might be enough to force GuMiho back. Might. The operative word there. Down goes one Colossus, but the second one makes all the difference. Blink Stalker's on the chase. Blinks over the top, knocks out a medevac. But reinforcements are coming across the map, as neither of these two is willing to let bygones be bygones. And I'm not even really sure what that terminology means, so I choose to take it literally. 2 mines, 2 Zealots killed. Watchtower jams up the units against it, gets the other mine, and now we're going to be reaching over the top of this tower, the Colossus towering over it, making it very difficult for other units to move around. Well, that's not actually true. They just move underneath it. But the Marauders, not intimidated. Not light units, heavy set, big boned they prefer, but mine takes down another Zealot. GuMiho may be overstaying his welcome, but he's shaving off some of those gateway units, and most importantly, no upgrades at all from Nightmare. He's just now starting his +1 ground weapons. He's had an observer over top of the of GuMiho's base for this entire time, but it's not coming as a surprise. He's just moving out and fighting. GuMiho, despite losing a couple medevacs, still has 7 on the field. He started Viking production. He hasn't forgotten his concussive shells. Nightmare is throwing a Dark Shrine, a Shrine to Darken, and getting Disruptors, the double Ds of destruction, the most dangerous options against all Terrans who aren't named Clem. As the amount of micro required to deal with both of those things, either at the same time or in separate areas, is nearly impossible. You're going to take damage. DTs, backstabbing or front stabbing, disruptors exploding. Neither of these things you can afford very much wiggle room. All right? Well, moving out of the way at all is already difficult. And now 3 DTs warped into the main. Things going to get even spicier. The Observer is chasing. There's a turret on the way. It's not done yet. Widow Mine. The ritual sacrifice of one probe. Detection going to be required on both sides. What? Turret is delayed. 4 SCVs dead. More mines in the main. He doesn't retarget the mine, so he ends up getting 2 kills total so far. The DT is still going to work. Not enough damage with the armor upgrade on those SCVs to one-shot them, so it's actually a pretty huge buff to get that +1 armor before Protoss has +1 ground weapons. But 12 SCVs dead, and some of the scans are forced out. The Widow Mines get hits, but Nightmare did a good job of mitigating the damage, offering up the ritual sacrifices. And now, only 3 probes dead. And GuMiho loses 12 SCVs and plummets to a 2 SCV lead. Nightmare was so focused on building his unit composition, whereas GuMiho kind of cut a few corners in order to make sure he had that continual SCV production. And that means no clear-cut winner of this phase of the game. And we'll be moving into the larger army compositions without either player having a decisive advantage. GuMiho has the upgrades, he has the infrastructure, but Nightmare now has multiple flavors of splash damage. He's got 4 bases to work with, so less tied to losing just 1 base. But GuMiho's going to have the upgrades. He has Vikings overhead, which are a great counter to the Colossi. He has a lot of Marauders, which are a mixed bag against the Disruptors. And he has Ghosts, which are just straight up good. Scan looking for observers. A marching line of charge lots up to the north side. Sending, go get him, Bob. Just go out in front. You're our leader. Well, here comes the Bio Army. No vision. EMP hits. Disruptor popped immediately. And Guardian Shield. 3 Disruptors. GuMiho micros back. Charge lots of idle on the other side. Another Disruptor shot. Ooh, dodges it out. I don't think he ended up losing any ghosts with that one. He managed to avoid it. The Charge lots. Army's near 200 supply now. but only 66 workers apiece. Full 3-base economy. Neither player able to land a critical blow yet. GuMiho, he's angling. He's on this side of the map because Nightmare didn't scout it. I don't think he's expecting to be able to take out any of those bases, but instead just trying to avoid the army and getting the jump on the disruptors. But at the same time, we got a fusion core on the way. And knowing GuMiho, that may very well be for Caduceus Reactor, with a small chance of battlecruiser and advanced ballistics. And this watchtower concave, but the disruptor turns it around. Broadside fire smashes into the army, but there's still not enough to follow it up. Coming through that choke point is just untenable for the Protoss. Fusion core is spotted, but the SCV survives the hits of the Zealots to finish its construction job. And now a planetary. GuMiho goes for the gold. He just plops it down at the gold. It kind of makes sense because you want to... That was sad. He just loses the Warp Prism to a single Viking. Caduceus Reactor on the way. Double medevac energy regen. So at this stage of the game, it's not even so much about having enough units. It's about having the right composition. And when you have 12 medevacs do not shoot at the Protoss. They're very good. But when you can minimize the amount of medevacs, you can maximize the amount of dudes with drugs and guns. Hell yeah, brother. And now GuMiBro has exactly what he needs to deal with the ground army. But Nightmare already hitting both places at once. And the Widow Mines are doing so much damage. One Colossus, but the Vikings. Disruptor shot. Wards away. Guardian Shield holds the line. A few more barracks being built that creates something of a choke point for the Zealots. But overall, GuMiho holding, and Nightmare ends up losing a bunch of supply in an ill-fated fight. He's lost 4,000 more resources, and it hasn't really been that far into the game. GuMiho with 69 SCVs, a nice point to be at, going into 4 bases, especially with mules. DT Blink is on the way for Nightmare. He still has plenty of production, a dozen gateways, the gold base. The incomes just keep flipping back and forth. Just a constant exchange here. The planetary fortress to back things up. Any amount of buildings to distract the Colossus. The disruptors are still an existential threat. And charge lots coming in. Filtered. I love how GuMiho just keeps the bunkers at the back. It's one of those little details. A lot of Terran... Stop position on the SCVs! Conscientiously objecting to the Zealots being here. And because if you just A-move the Zealots, what happens is they're trying to move and hit a certain target. And they don't consider the SCVs a threat. To them, the SCVs are effectively supply depots. But he can't get there, so it really screws with the 2 brain cells the Zealots have. Or at least I read that in the Terran magazine. And they're unable to close the distance. If he attack moved with the SCVs, the Zealots would have slaughtered them. So that's the difference. The smart move there was just to buy time. And GuMiho even has a turret. Does he not see that observer? The observer is somehow like 1 pixel, 1 range out of turret range. 2 sensor towers for GuMiho, because you can never be too careful. Get a second opinion, and in almost exactly the same spot, but here comes Nightmare, blocks forward, disruptor shots around the back. Vikings over the top, a big hit, and a bunch of the bio is isolated and killed. Disruptor misses the mark, but most of GuMiho's army, with just like 1 medevac, is on the other side of the map as we go into a full-on base trade. A nightmare for himself and GuMiho. As here we go. Neither player confronting the full army of the other. Nightmare starts with the supply lead. He has a prism, he has disruptors, but GuMiho's buildings can fly, which is a surprisingly or not so surprisingly relevant advantage in this case. GuMiho, both sides losing all their workers. Nightmare, there's no way he still has recall as an option, but he's down to 2 bases. A planetary at the 4th is a huge deal here. In fact, he has 2 planetaries at the 4th and the 5th. The main base still has 30-40 supply of bio up there. And Nightmare has a slight army supply lead, but they're still about even. 3-3 is now done. There's still a Dark Shrine. The SCVs are not on auto repair. They are now. He target fires the sentries, which is actually a great choice. 1, the only unit he can kill in that amount of time, and 2, definitely the most valuable of the units he might be able to take out. So GuMiho going to lose all his bases, as is Nightmare. We're going to be down to 2 base versus 2 base. In one of the most efficient, the Surgeon amputating all the planetaries, and the Admiral calls it an acceptable loss. Those disruptors, Nightmare just realized they were out there, thankfully, before GuMiho found them. Both players trying to reposition. So those disruptors were so obvious, he immediately scans and kills an observer, because why else are you firing off 3 shots blindly? All right, Dick Cheney. And Ghost Academy's on the way. Whoa, he lost his Ghost Academy? I assume so. I don't know if nukes are the low economy option. A DT. Well, DTs are definitely a low economy option. As GuMiho right now has as many SCVs as he started with. Nightmare's at 35 probes. There's still 2 or... Oh, he blinks! More DTs roaming around. Oh, but the army in kind of a weird spot. The Liberator's looking the wrong way. Fadeaway shot from the Ruptors, but Nightmare using the observers to shift blink the DTs into the main. And the Cape Boys. GuMiho too busy on an archaeological expedition. The DTs are just ransacking the main. There's a lot of scans saved up. The Ghosts EMP themselves in order to get EMP one of the DTs, but he's not going to have any more there. Another warp and 7 DTs back at home. He cancels the command center. We're going to round 2. Much more intense, but with way less economy behind it. The army recalls back with the disruptors. There should still be scans. He does scan. He kills off several of the Dark Templar right off the bat. And now GuMiho's retaken the supply lead. Nightmare is trying to kill this. Oh, there's a base. Well, there was a base. It died almost instantly, but those medevacs still keeping things going, but the army just keeps stimming, kiting back. More zealots chasing, trickling in one at a time. The supply's still so close. And the DTs eviscerating the reinforcements. The engineering bay. Well, there's another engine bay, but 12. Wait, GuMiho has 1 SCV. That's not very many. The disruptor's out in front, but he spotted the army. The disruptors could end the game instantaneously, but losing them also could. Oh no, 1, 2, 3 Ruptors down, and the fadeaway shot is almost as likely. The last SCV was out in front. GuMiho has no workers left, though he does have the money to build more. He still has command centers, but the DTs are in the main. The disruptors are out of shots, and the stalkers have to retreat. He needs those disruptors desperately. Targets down another one. There's only 1 left. The buildings are in the air. Fly, you fools! Wait, is there a probe on the map? Is there a probe? There are DTs. But if Nightmare is facing elimination, like, if he doesn't get a probe out on the map, there are DTs out here, but there's still EMP, a scan from the orbital that's now burning. There's only 1 orbital left. Is that true? Yes, there's 1 orbital at the natural. He still has Ghost EMP, assuming he doesn't just lose his Ghost to the DTs. He targets the Dark Shrine. There's still 8 DTs on the map. So now it's a race of, oh, he blinks down into the bio. GuMiho can win the game, but he can't lose it. If he kills Nightmare's Nexi, GuMiho is not what? That means no more scans. Where's the Ghost? Is the Ghost in the medevac? Is the Ghost in the Ghost is in the medevac. He can drop it out. He's kiting around. He's floating buildings to the corner. Nightmare. Is he rebuilding somewhere? He doesn't have enough money. What? Is this a draw? Well, no, because GuMiho can win, but he can't lose. Nightmare has... GuMiho can't lose this game now. But Nightmare can also prevent him from winning. There is nothing on the map that can kill GuMiho's buildings, and he cannot rebuild a Nexus in order to mine the resources to get a Stargate to chase down those pesky buildings. But at the same time, that 1 Ghost is the detection. He EMPs 1 DT. Wait, the buildings tab. Are there any more buildings? He can make an assimilator on the other side. Right now, he's fighting... Oh my god, he can use the Reaper Wall! The DTs are slicing through. He's going for the buildings. If Nightmare had saved up enough money at this point, he could let GuMiho commit to killing all of these buildings and then slap down the Nexus at the last second. GuMiho does not know how much money Nightmare has. He knows he has not rebuilt his base and is being revealed, but he can't know how much money is left. He knows there's no Nexus, but that is it. Nightmare also knows there's no command center, which is a big mistake out of GuMiho to lose his last command center. There's a factory in the corner at full HP. Then that's GuMiho's last building. Nightmare has enough money for 2 assimilators, or 1 pylon and 1 assimilator. Or, no, that's actually it. He can't build anything else without a pylon. So, I'm like, or a forge. No. Well, the Ghost will eventually get energy to EMP. And each of those, I'm actually not sure why Nightmare doesn't fight the army. There's no more detection. They're DTs, he's spread them out. EMP's 1, but he's fighting the buildings! Nightmare needs to build an assimilator. He does! On the other side of the map, but it's spotted immediately. What did you think was gonna happen? It's himself for Nightmare. Oh no! I mean, there's another assimilator, but I think a critical mistake here. Like, he still has medevacs. They fly faster than you could blink. There's only so many buildings left. There's single digit, 6 Marauders, 2 Marines, 1 Ghost. That Ghost will eventually have the EMP. Will it be before a stalemate timer? He built, wait, what? A pylon! Right over here. Nightmare taps out. Elimination. 1 building left. No SCVs. GuMiho wins. Nightmare crumbles in the chaos. I think there was an opportunity, but GuMiho just dove into the base trade head first. They both seemed like they had head trauma by the end, but GuMiho wins a game that very well could have ended up with no winners at all. The real winner, though, at the end of the day, the fans. That was one of the cleanest, most direct examples of an actual... Oh my god. Jimmy, what? We're going to talk about this later, unless I fade into the abyss. Ignore that. Game 2. I think appropriately on Ghost River. Never base trade a Terran. Honestly, the fact he got so close. Where you going, Nightmare? Why you gotta probe out here like this? This is 2 game. Maybe this is what he wanted to do before, but the pylon was so late on the last game. That was such a different timing. This is, well, it's not the most creative cheese, but it certainly is a potentially effective one. Unfortunately, this time, GuMiho has gone for the 2 gas, which gives him a much better chance of having a direct response. If you go 1 ranks expand, obviously you have a vulnerable point, the expansion, which you don't have a factory for a cyclone. And you just barely, you might not even have a bunker. But in this case, the factory will be done. There is a wall. He's actually locked the probe in, which can't be a happy time for Nightmare. This is not untenable. It still definitely can work, but the chances are severely reduced of it just outright ending the game, now that GuMiho has invented wall-off technology that the Protoss lost eons ago. Reaper comes back. Oh my god, he gets an SCV! So we get something. Zealot and Stalker on the way in, though. And yeah, that Stalker's gonna give away the whole bit here. The bunker in production. So, still an awkward timing. There's only the Reaper right now. The reactor will finish. He may be able to... He should be able to repair it in time. Trying to buy space. He's literally kiting in between Stalker shots. Trying to make sure the Stalker can't actually get it done. Repairing the reactor. Gotta be very careful. Where are you going, GuMiho? Oh no, we lost the Reaper. But he's got a Cyclone on the way. He's trying to repair that reactor because otherwise these units get in. The Cyclone comes out. He locks on and knocks out a Stalker which was trapped in by the other Stalker. Oh no. The high ground vision afforded by the shade, but he locked out on the low ground and then shaded it again. No, the Stalkers are too dummy thick. Classic problem. Oh, he still has vision, and it feels like Nightmare is... it's just not going his way. There was opportunity here, but GuMiho has handled it well. And Nightmare, just a few pixels too far forward. And now disaster has strucketh. 2 Cyclones should be enough to ward this away. Maybe not enough to kill it outright, but double locks onto... Wow, that's just disrespectful. That's just... What? No. No, go away. Okay. Well, this actually might be throwing the game. You can't just... Nah, you can't... You can't do that, alright? That's an illegal... That's... No. Nah. Mm-mm. Well, GuMiho has successfully navigated the narrow path to a very dicey situation from what seemed to be a relatively comfortable defense. But... And now the 3 Stalkers are just in the base. A tank comes out. I doubt he'll siege it until they leave, but... Well, you can't lose the tank. He can't. He very much can lose it. But, well, the SCVs... GuMiho putting out a clinic of how not to handle this scenario right now. The Stalker will eventually be chased down. Well... Huh. Huh. Charge is on the way. I think that's a smart follow. I'm busy wrapping my head around what's gone wrong and what's gone right here, which is a whole lot of both, but... Warp Prism on the way across. Here's a medevac, which is also here. Like, GuMiho in a very awkward spot right now. But he does have the production. A Dark Shrine on the way, which seems to be something Nightmare reaches for more often than not. Raven coming out. That Warp Prism, very important charge about to complete. Stim just now starting. So Prism heads in towards the main. He's going to drop right on top of the tank. A incredibly effective move. Oh, the Prism taking a lot of damage there. The SCVs will have to be pulled. And Nightmare just diving in, and that's GG. Nightmare turns it around. And he'll be able to take it. Well, that... GuMiho showing us that how quickly the turntables can turn. And turn they did. Certainly an interesting choice there to go out and try to drive by and get the damage done. Which is doubly... Oh, this is... People are not going to be very happy. Jimmy, I can't believe you didn't tell me this beforehand. Apparently that was from the World Team League. And that means they only played 2 games for their team. So 1-1 is the final score, leaving us with the StarCraft 2 equivalent of, let's say, unextended thermal lances. Let's say that. But yes, so the World Team League plays 2 matches up until the final potential ace match, which is a best of 3. And in this case, that was mislabeled as, like, not a World Team League match. So Jimmy will be reprimanded. We will be docking his pay, which is difficult to do because there is none. But that does bring us to our anti-spoiler match, which is Solar versus Lancer. Please like and subscribe, and then direct all of your vitriol and all of your anger towards Jimmy, who made this disaster happen. Oh, I really wanted... Well. Protoss versus Zerg. This is a game that I actually looked at earlier, and by earlier I mean a couple weeks ago, that I didn't get a chance to actually show off, as we've had so many good games, but there's a laundry list of games that we're working into the anti-spoiler bonus games, because what I expected, here's your behind the scenes. Now, 4th wall breaking. I expected to have a best of 3. GuMiho probably wins 2-0, and then surprise, anti-spoiler game. And then we can fulfill our quota of having enough time on the video that both you don't know who wins, and 2, YouTube is happy about it. But here we are. So, we'll move on in life. We can't always get what we want, which is basic labeling of replays. But here we are. I promise you I'll find another more conclusive Nightmare versus GuMiho match. And we'll truly find who can throw harder. Oh, GuMiho. Solar. The Cyril stunt double against Lancer, formerly known as Cyan, now Lancer. That's a pretty cool name. I like Lancer. Cyan was also pretty distinctive, who has been making more of a splash lately. Still struggling to break in. About the same level, I'd say, as Nightmare. But Lancer has a more hero-esque YOLO style to Protoss than Nightmare's very surgical and almost sometimes too tunnel-visioned Protoss style. So Adept, poking and pry. Void Ray first. Void Ray first. Gonna drive out the Overlord and be generally suspicious, which is the main benefit of going Void Ray first over Oracle, is you get all the intrigue of someone going Void Ray first, like, what are you hiding? And you don't have to be fancy with your Oracle micro, which is surprisingly difficult to pull off against top-tier players, even though it can look easy at times. We'll see what follows it up behind. Oracle it is. At least for now. At least under the tentacles of the Overlord. It's an Oracle, but he may change it. No. Is committed. The Overlord's pulling back. Hearing about what happened to their friend on the other side of the map. Or at least colleague, depending on who you ask. You know how it is. Acquaintance. Work friend. Somehow sounds more offensive. If they're dead, you can say friend, I guess. No one's going to dispute that. That'd be rude. Karen. What? Oracle heading towards the main. So far, so standard. About, well, besides the Void Ray, which is not too far off the beaten path. In fact, the Queen's driving it out. Oracle heading towards the main, which feels a bit negligent from Solar here, not having a single spore in the main. He has 2 Queens now, but the Adepts into the natural. All the drones, a lot of mining time lost. Oh my god. Yep. Running the entirety of a mineral line all the way down to his second base and back is the field trip that you don't usually want to be counting on in the early game. But here we are. Oracle still getting an inordinate amount of kills. 10 drone kills so far. Twilight and Forge behind. Zerglings looking for a counterattack. Decide to go for the probes. Gonna find pretty much nothing. Get off my screen! Oracle taken down in the main. And Shield Battery, just the more approachable target for the Lings. Taken down, rebuilt. Roach Warren's on the way. And 4 more gates. Charge. And Moracles. Making sure he has at least 2 out there. It's gonna be charge and +1. It's gonna and the Shady Bunch is heading out. So a bit of a spicier timing here. Definitely more focused on getting the damage done. He's seen a later layer out of Solar. And now, thinking about shading in. This is a bit risky, as charge lots are countered by roaches as well, if Solar figures this out in time. A lot of Zerg players won't want to commit to mass roach against Blinkstalker. You usually want to lean a little more into the Lings and Ravagers. But if he figures out it is indeed charge lots instead of Blinkstalkers, we're going to see a whole lot of roaches. And yes, Ravagers come from roaches, but usually you build like 8, 10, and then you morph them into Ravagers as opposed to like 30 roaches. Just to play devil's advocate for myself. Who else will? Infestation Pit on the way. Curious timing. That could go Hive, could go Swarm House. Wow. The Adepts just can't stop being in the way of the 4th base, but eventually get slapped down. Hydra Den. Looks like a rush to Lurkers indeed is the choice. Roaches continuing production. Charge not done yet, but the lack of Stalkers is quite conspicuous. And in fact, he's going to see an Archon. Yeah, I think a Zergling just died to an Archon there, which is already kind of giving away this isn't a Blinkstalker timing. This is going to be that Charge Lot Archon, kind of CIA death ball. Charge Lot Immortal Archon, of course. Who will look to overthrow the righteous Zerg governments. Now, the Hive on the way. Lurker Den as well alongside it. Takes the same amount of time to build. And then you can start that Lurker range and the burrow speed, which are the upgrades that make the Lurkers not suck too hard. It's a technical term. Ranged attack, Groovy Spines on the way for the Hydras. Enough roaches to make sure those charge lots think twice with both those brain cells we talked about. Stasis catches some Lings, which turns them into very convenient scouts for the near future, actually, because... And he can just see how the base is shaping up. Warp Prism on the north side, heading towards the main, and now double Ruptor on the way. Wow. Adding in the Ruptors pretty early on here. Well, by early on, I mean at all in this matchup. Because most players would rather rely on the Immortals as opposed to the Ruptors. As Immortals, they might not get the big hits, but they get the guaranteed ones. Whereas Disruptors are quite a gamble. Oh, Stasis hits a huge amount of roaches. And now opening up an opportunity. There's really not enough here in the main to defend, as the charge lots are just streaming through on top of the Hydras. The roaches locked down means another army is coming through towards the 4th. Lancer slicing through and getting a lot of damage done. He just goes straight for the hatchery. Quite an ambitious move. Does he recall out or just fight? Looks like fighting is the choice, though. Gonna lose a couple Archons here. He got the base, but... it feels like maybe that could have gone better. Getting the base is good, but losing 10 times the cost of a hatchery. Okay, he really likes killing bases. He's right-clicked on the main. That isn't going to happen. Stop trying to make base killing happen. I think Solar happy with the exchange here, as Lancers now ended up losing 2,000 more resources, including 1,000 more gas. A lot of those Zealots and Archons going down. And Solar had an alternative 4th base all lined up. 80 to 84 workers in favor of the Protoss. Immortals and Archons now need some stability in his mid-game life. How many disruptors? 4 of them. Still very effective against roaches, hydras, lurkers, and your own zealots, depending on where you aim. That should be enough to at least keep Solar at bay till he decides to pop some Vipers out, unless Solar's able to pick them off while they're looking the other way. Hydra speed nearly complete. I think the disruptors were spotted there. Adrenal glands on the way. Good job, Solar. Too many Zergs, forget that one. Easy to forget, but so important not to. And Casual Void Ray has somehow made it this far. Viper's on the way, and the Fleet Beacon is called in. He reaches to the skies. The beacon is lit. And Mothership and either Tempest or Carriers. We'll see what it is. Wow, that's a lot of charge lots. 16 charge lots, almost all of them to the north side, heading for the 4th base, while the main ground army is headed towards the alternative. Charge lots streaming in. The lurkers, but gets detection of them. Disruptor shot clips the Archon as well, but goes for the double kill on the lurkers and gets one of them morphing. But he's out of shots now. Charge lots funneled into the Spine Crawler. Beautiful placement. That Spine Crawler, the backbone of the defense, and the lurker spines complementing it as well. Yeah, the Spine Crawler funneling the charge lots into an area where the lurkers could get splash damage on all of them, which is about as good as it's ever gonna get. Another wave of charge lots is warped in. Both players near maxed out, though Solar with more in the bank right now. Another wave, so much damage. Disruptor shots find the connection. The Vipers are very late on the draw, but they drag in an Immortal and 2 Disruptors, get an Archon for good measure. Solar, though, he lost so much at the start of the fight, the Vipers couldn't do much more than cover his retreat. And the chargelets are still just slicing through the base. +2 done, +3 about there. And down goes another hatch. 13 drones dead, though 12 more in production. 16 more Hydras. The bank is gone for Solar. But Lancer has turned it around with that fight. Units lost a lot closer to even. +1. Protoss air weapons on the way. And now 2 carriers in production. They're about to arrive. A dozen more lurkers for Solar. But that'll leave him with... Okay, he has 20 Hydras. That's enough. That's enough anti-air for 2 carriers. Solar's army pretty huge at the moment. He's down to 69 drones, which is not as nice as he'd like at this stage. He's struggling to hold on to more than 1 mining base, whereas Lancer's on 2 to 3 at the moment. So this army just bullying him around the map. The lurkers are strong, but they crumble in the face of disruptors and immortals. If you don't have the Vipers to back them up. Thankfully, Solar not found wanting in that department. That's so many lurkers. Disruptor softens up a bunch of them, but he pulls in a carrier, knocks it down. Interceptors pop alongside it. Lurkers still moving forward. Solar actually supply block from losing an Overseer. Not going to be too worried about that right now. Pops another Ruptor. And that's it for the Disruptors now. He's rebuilding them. Oh, yank the mic. Oh. Wait, what? No, I need to go back. No, I don't. Who cares about that? Did he pull it before the animation finished? I don't. Where's that prism? Where are you, prism? Oh, it was hiding in the corner. Okay, so he's warping in. He has enough energy. So it completed while he was still abducting. I don't know if he abducted earlier, if it would have canceled it, because the abduct doesn't pull it out of phase mode. But was the phase still over the zealots as they... Let me one more. I need to... So the zealots, as the abduct lands, it is clearly being abducted at the time the zealots are finishing warping in. But technically, I think the prism... Are any of them canceled? Yes! Yes, this one gets canceled. What that means is the prism was still over the area that some of the units were warping in. Even as it got abducted, it still was a phase prism at that time. Huh. Well. Huh. And somehow it gets away, which just is a bit offensive, but... Huh. Well, that is certainly something. That was a very odd interaction. I really felt like it would come out of it like a Liberator being unsieged, but it feels kind of weird that a War Prism doesn't get unfazed. I guess it is just not phased by that. Ooh. Beautiful shot. Slams in to the Lurkers, and then the Immortals and Archons walk up to the rest, and that doesn't go nearly as well. He doesn't actually know how many Lurkers are back there until he brings the Observer close enough. Feedback on one Viper, but the other one at full energy. Solar still pressing forward, yanks out a carrier, but the Disruptors cover its retreat. Get over here. He finishes it off now, but the energy is gone. Four carriers at a time. He's up. No, it's back. You. Just the threat. Wow. That Warp Prism's still going. Despite the trials and tribulations and technical review of the replay. And finding out indeed that was not a red card. The play on the field will stand. Vipers consuming energy. So far, feeling pretty impotent with the abducts. They've been helpful, but not at critical times. It's not just about what you abduct, but when it comes to these fights. If you abduct the carrier, but the Disruptors hit you anyways, well, that's certainly... Those are not yours. Fooled him for a moment. Disruptors. The Vipers. I think he's just waiting for the carriers. He doesn't care. Well... He's waiting to make me look dumb is what he's doing. Working his way through. Dark Shrine is done. One of the Overseers died. The Lurkers are so thick that they're making it difficult. Is there Storm? There is Storm. He just hasn't built up enough energy on the Templar. And now that's a lot of Hydras. There's not enough Arc. There's no splash damage. Without Storm, these Hydras are just pincushioning. Lancer is two Immortals waltzing across the map. And they do have kind of a waltzing look to them. Moving on. And now the Lurkers. Missile attacks level 3. Finishing up. No, the Prism! Are we gonna see it again? No, too late now, but... The Queen. Get over here! Yeah, it stays phased in. He tries to unphase it, but... Meanwhile, though... The Immortals just out in the middle of the map. Again, the scouting Immortals are caught. He's actually launching the Interceptors onto the rocks, which helps fling them out there. That's a lot of Hydras and Lurkers, but the Templar are charged up. It's gonna come down to the spell casting here. Storms across all of the Lurkers, across the Hydras. An entire storm front rolling in. But was it enough? The Hydras, with no Corruptors, so vulnerable to the carriers. He's trying to close the distance. It just... And the Void Ray! Lancer! Oh, let me see those beautiful storms. One more time. One more time. Zergs, look away. Slow it down as much as we can. And then there just weren't enough Hydras left over. A full across-the-board storms. Maybe kills one carrier, but air weapons level 2 completes. GG. Lancer, well played. A bit of a convoluted set of games today, technically. I do apologize for Jimmy's failings in that kind of indecisive GuMiho versus Nightmare match, though I think appropriately so. And Solar versus Lancer. Lancer showing a unique kind of style of Protoss. Same units, but a different way of going about it. So hopefully, overall, despite the hiccups, it made your day a little bit better. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome. Check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But liking and subscribing, still free, at least for now. So I'll see you next time. Make sure to check out the second channel. You want more content, streams, all that. Winter Gaming TV in the description as well. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.